It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. Today's date is the 4th of February. Happens to be a Wednesday. And it's the B block, the Bravo block, the Brad block, whatever you want to call it. And John, we do this in the Bravo block. We do the...
It's time for Brad's top 3.
That
In
is,
sync.
That's right. Okay.
Justin Timberlake.
And we start off with...
It's number 3.
We do indeed. Okay, John, normally I try to keep things local and in the St. Louis metro area, you know, the Westplex, things like that, this part of the state. But I am going to start off my number 3 with a story out of Verona, Wisconsin. And you may say, Brad, why are you talking about Verona, Wisconsin? Because it's the tip of the iceberg, John. You know what? Why?
Oh,
you know,
really? What is the tip of the iceberg for?
the tip of the iceberg is for ALPR. Do you know what ALPR stands for?
American Language Repository Program.
Automated license plate readers. There's a
Oh, no. Call Brian Nieves because he used to talk about this on the Patriot Enclave every day.
There is a big company in the United States called Flock, F-L-O-C-K, and they have what they call Flock cameras. And here in the St. Louis metro area, they are everywhere. And I'm a nerd. I know exactly what they look like. Sometimes you'll see them on an individual pole that's just stuck in the ground somewhere. Sometimes you'll see them attached to a traffic light. Sometimes you'll see them attached to a light standard. Sometimes even to a telephone pole. And what they involve is a solar panel and a camera that sort of looks like an L upside down, okay? And they're black. The solar panels are black. The cameras are black. And these are tied to a company, I believe they're in Atlanta, Georgia, where as you drive by, they're constantly scanning your car and your license plate, and they are literally, through OCR, optical character recognition, they're pulling your license plate number and putting it into a database and also saving the car, the vehicle. They're automatically identifying what kind of car it is, what color it is, what direction it's headed, what speed it's going at, and this goes into a database. Now, the interesting part of this is the first time I saw one of these in St. Louis was probably, 6 or 7 years ago, and it was actually put in place by the Winghaven Homeowners Association. And I haven't noticed recently, but if you come off of 364 and you go south on Winghaven Boulevard, just as you get into the Winghaven subdivision, you cross over Highway N there, you'll see one of these, at least it used to be, on the right side, and it has a sign that says that that this is, taking your license plate number down the whole bit. Okay, here's what's happened in Verona, Wisconsin. The liberal people in Verona, Wisconsin, there are quite a few of them, are essentially saying enough is enough. We had a contract with Flock. We don't think this is proper anymore, because they did some research on this, and the police departments have a more in-depth database search than the Homeowners Association. There's various degrees of service you can get. If you're a homeowner association, you can't get the automatic registration of who the car is registered and stuff like that. You just get the fact that it's a blue Honda that had license plate ABC 123 and it was headed south on Winghaven at 2:35 on a Saturday afternoon. That's what you get. But the police version has all sorts of stuff, and the police can actually program into the system license plates that they want to catch. Like if someone's committed a murder and they think the guy's driving his car, they can put that into the thing. And then as the guy's driving around the St. Louis area or wherever. But what's happened on this is the big thing that the Verona, Wisconsin people are upset about is, guess who is accessing the Flock database, John?
Oh, I bet it's ICE.
It's ICE. You guessed it. So the Verona, Wisconsin people have terminated their contract with Flock, but there's only one problem. Flock,
oh, no, the cameras are still there and they're still in use.
Yes, the Flock people have never come to pick up their equipment because of the fact that even though they're not being paid by the Verona, Wisconsin, city council or whoever paid for them, the police department, Flock cameras are still there and they're gathering intelligence for their larger database for the entire country. Now, get this. I mentioned a long time ago, and I'll briefly tell the story. When I was a young lad and I got myself a job as a police dispatcher in Illinois, we used, and I think they still call it the same thing, LEAD system. It stands for Law Enforcement Agency Data System, LEADS. And it was the Illinois system that tied into NCIC, which is the FBI national crime thing, okay? And as a new dispatcher, I was dispatched to, how you like that, John? As a dispatcher, I was dispatched to
Yes, I love it.
a class on leads, which was at, and I can't remember, but it was at a bank building. They had like a community room at a bank building in Collinsville, Illinois. And it was a 2-day thing. And we had a sergeant from the Illinois State Police who taught the class. And after our second day, when we were winding down our education, the sergeant said, "Now, boys," and it was all, at this point in time, it was all men in the room because back in the day, police dispatchers were mainly men. Now they're mainly women. I don't know how that happened, but it did.
Yeah, we got it.
Okay, but it was all men in the room, and the sergeant said to us, "Now, boys, it's like anything in life. If you want to get good at it, you got to practice." And he had a little bit of Southern accent. I don't know if maybe he was from like Carbondale or something, like way down south. And he says, "Here's my suggestion. When you're driving around, put like a legal pad on the front seat of your car. And if you see a good-looking gal in a car, you write down her license number. And when you get to work, you run that license number, and you'll know who she is and where she lives. And you just might go over to her house and knock on her door and ask her out for dinner." Now, I tell that story because if that happened today, guess what would happen, John?
They would immediately, the gentleman would lose his job. Just like that, I certainly don't want to get you off track, but it was either Maplewood or Manchester in which the police, wasn't he a sergeant? And he was looking up hot chicks, like some waitress that he would go stalk all the time. He was looking up like the cars that were parked outside of her house and such.
Well, this is what's happened with a lot of police departments, and specifically, they think it happened in the Verona Police Department, where one of the Verona police officers was after an attractive woman, and he would go into the database, and she knew what kind of a car she had, and he would go into the database and find out where she was driving at what time. He was stalking her through the ALPR, through the flock system. So the Verona City Council has essentially said, immediately take down the cameras. And guess what the flock company did?
Did they not take them down?
They did not take them down.
No, wouldn't they? Let me interrupt, Brad. If I worked for Flock, I would be upset. I would be worried that anti-ICE people would start throwing rocks at them and destroy them and whatever.
But John, what happened was the chief of police of Verona, Wisconsin, took matters into his own hands, and he went out with a ladder, got up on the ladder, and covered up the cameras so they don't work anymore.
Very good. Did he put a hood over them, or maybe an Antifa mask?
I don't know what he did, but I'm telling you, I'm thinking this is going to happen all over the country, just like what happened with the red light cameras, where people are going like, once they get a bogus ticket from the red light camera, they're going like, okay, enough with this. I say the same thing's going to happen with the cameras. And I know the law enforcement people are going to go say, well, it helped us catch this murderer 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I get it. But to the point where they now have a dossier on you, where you're at, where you were driving, which direction you're headed, what time of the day or night, and literally they can put your license plate into the national system, and they can go back. They keep the data for 30 days. They can bring up exactly where you have been in every single day of the week, every single hour of the day if you're driving around with just your license plate. And they can say, well, he was on I-70 at 5th Street on Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock, and he was in the subdivision in St. Peter's, and then he was driving down in Chesterfield. I think it's terrible. I think it's a horrendous situation, and it's Big Brother personified. John, how do you like that?
Brad, I think that the good folks at the Flock Group, doing business as Flock Safety here in Missouri, would say, Brad, if you're not committing any crimes, you don't have anything to worry about. And Flock is represented in Jefferson City by the folks at Catalyst. That's Danny Pfeiffer, Rebecca Lohman, Alex Eaton, a.k.a. 8. Alex's initials are 8. And, of course, the great Todd Richardson now represents them too, Brad. Brad, stop running around town with a license plate that's quite memorable and committing crimes, and you won't have anything to worry about. I just said all of that to make one of our libertarian friends make her skin crawl.
Okay.
And you know who I'm talking about.
I do. Okay, now it's for number 2. Hold on a minute. Hold on. My system's not working right. Okay, now I'll try it.
It's time for Brad's number 2.
It is Brad's number 2. John, a Rock Hill update. Now, first off, John, that is inside the 270 circle. So if I said, John, maybe you need to go do some in-depth reporting in Rock Hill, would you drive there?
Absolutely not, Brad. Why would I go inside the 270 circle?
The Rock Hill City Council is, shall we say, agitated because of the fact that the smell is getting worse. The marijuana smell and the crazy thing about it is, I heard this place is like 100,000 square feet. Where is there a 100,000 square foot building in Rock Hill? I mean, do you know exactly where this place is at?
I don't. And do you want to describe, because we talked about this on the 21st of, I believe we talked about this on the 21st of January. For folks who don't know, yeah, we talked about on the 21st. What are you talking about when you say a facility in Rock Hill, Brad? Who brought the story up in his top three?
It's John Combest, and it's the smell of marijuana, because this is an official state licensed Missouri marijuana cultivation site. And it's crazy thing about it is it's indoor, right? It's not outdoor, it's indoor, right?
Correct. It is indoor. Now, Brad, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I don't mean to make you uncomfortable, but you saw this story. Did you read this story?
I did.
Okay. And did you see it on the Post-Dispatch, or did you see another version of this?
No, actually, I heard it on the radio.
Oh, okay. So you didn't read it, but you heard it when you were driving in.
No, yeah, because of the fact that they're saying they've already talked to the company, and the company apparently, when they permitted this into Rock Hill, specifically they said that they had to have some kind of a smell mitigation system, and the company says, hey, we've got it, and the people in Rock Hill says, yeah, but it ain't working, and the marijuana people say, well, this is all we can do, and the Rock Hill people say, no, you got to do more because it stinks, right?
Yeah, and so the news piece of this, and by the way, because we talked about it on the 21st, I have a link to it today on johncombest.com, because the state has been asked to get involved. So folks can read a paywall-free version on my website today. I think the highlight of the piece is that one of the representatives that Proper Brands, who's the company at the center of all this, they employ someone that they call an industrial hygienist. That's the person in charge of making sure things don't stink so bad. Right. And this guy said, look, we can't get rid of the stink. We can just minimize it.
I still am going like, I've talked to you about this on the air before. John is a guy who worked for Monsanto. As part of his job, he literally was out in fields of cotton, corn, soybeans, whatever crops. What other crops did you walk around in, John?
Oh, it was mostly corn, beans. And then, I spent a little time around some specialty crops, but it's mostly big row acre crops.
Okay. And my transmitter site is on Highway 47. The crap transmitter site is, depending upon what crops they rotate in, typically I'm between a bean field and a cornfield. And sometimes I get beans on both sides. Sometimes I get corn.
And what don't you smell, Brad?
I don't smell anything.
So for the fourth time, and we've talked about this, marijuana plants, the cannabis plant is different. And I don't spend a lot of time around cannabis, whether it's being grown or whether it's being smoked. I choose to not spend time around that. But when certain plants flower, as we discussed on the 21st, when certain plants flower, they emit an odor, and marijuana would be one of them.
John, I know you won't do this, but either today or tomorrow, I'm
not going to watch or listen.
I'm going to put on my. Oh, hold it. The ceiling tiles in the studio are parting. Oh my God. Dr. Winter, my journalist.
It's Dr. Winter.
My journalist professor.
He says, leave me alone, Brad.
From SIU Edwardsville. Brad, I can't believe you haven't gone down and smelled this devil's weed yet. You need to go down to Rock Hill and investigate this story. Brad, I taught you journalistic statistics and journalistic information gathering. You need to go immediately. John, that's Dr. Camille Winter talking. I need to leave right now. I'm sorry.
You're going to inhale deeply down there, aren't you, Brad?
I don't know what I'm going to do. Okay, time for number one. You ready?
Let's do it.
And now, big finish, Brad's number.
John Combest loves it when I screw up. John Combest actually is in his element when I step in you-know-what. And
when did you ever make a mistake, Brad?
Yesterday, would the proper term be conflated? Would conflated be a proper term for this?
I think, let's just say you had a senior moment.
I had a senior moment when I referred to Ben Baker as Ben Brown on yesterday's show.
Or vice versa.
Okay? Because Ben Baker is the guy who has been texting us, and I'm still.
No, Brad, Ben Brown has been texting.
That's right. Ben Brown has been texting.
Here we go.
Okay.
Hey, by the way, can we record this call and give it to Delmar Gardens West?
Okay. Let me just say this. I've met both the Bens, the Ben Baker and the Ben Brown. Why I'm confused is Ben Brown is a Pacific Islander and Ben Baker is an Asian, and they look a lot alike. So that's why.
That's exactly right, Brad. You can't tell them apart.
Have confused them. So what does John do when Brad makes a mistake?
What would John do?
He trumpets.
What would John do?
He trumpets this on Twitter.
I did. Thank you, Brad.
Right. He trumpets it on Twitter.
Hey, anything we can do to get people to pay attention to B-Block. And usually it's going to be a mistake of yours.
So what do we have yesterday? We have a tweet from Ben Baker. His official handle is @BenBakerMo. And it says, better yet, I could come on the show and pretend to be Ben Brown as a guest. LOL. Also remind me to tell you about how this is not the first time Ben and I have been mistaken for each other. And then Ben Brown chimes in and says, I think it's because we're approximately the same height. Well, no, it's because once again, Ben Baker is a Pacific Islander and Ben Brown is Asian descent, and they look very similar. I've met them both, and I thought at one point in time they were twins. And when I brought that up, they go, no, I'm from Asia. He's from Guam. And I said, oh, okay, fine, I got it.
Yeah, and in fact, they're remaking the Arnold Schwarzenegger Danny DeVito movie with Ben Baker and Ben Brown, called Twins 2.
So to Ben Baker and Ben Brown, I appreciate the fact that you had fun with me and John Combest had fun with me, but I am truly sorry that I got you mixed up. So I'm just going to rename you Ben 1 and Ben 2, and that way I won't ever make the mistake, because then John will say, well, which one's which? I go, I don't know. Ben 1 and Ben 2. Right? Ben 1 and Ben 2.
Hopefully you won't confuse this with your lady friend this evening, and you always call her Ben Dover. That's all you ever shout at her, Brad. No, she greets you when you come home from work. You say Ben Dover.
No, that's my attorney. That's Benjamin Dover. He's the attorney that handles my cases. He works for the firm of Dewey, Cheatham and Howe. And he called me over the weekend.
There we go,
and
Brad.
he said, hey, I need to get a new pool for this spring. I need to have them, and I sure a little money. How come you haven't gotten a cease and desist letter recently from Tracy and Rick Ellis? I said, I don't know. I've said some things about him. He says, well, say more things, so I need that pool done. Okay, so we need to do that, John, right?
I love the fact, Brad, that you can laugh at yourself while I'm definitely laughing at you. I love that. It's one of your best traits.
Okay, we need to take a break.